Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks, depending on where you are in the world, and thank you for joining us here today. My name is Thomas Trombley. I am with the Windows Servicing and Delivery team here at Microsoft, otherwise known as WSD. And joining me today are friends and colleagues Elizabeth Jones, Eric Moe, Matt Filipenko, and more than a few subject matter experts here to help address your questions. I'm both excited and highly caffeinated at the present time this morning, and I'm excited to be here with you. I want to welcome you to our session to help prepare you and your organization for 2025 Windows, Office, and other key end of support milestones, which we'll walk through in a little bit more detail. This session is intended to be interactive. However, it appears we'll be somewhat limited in this forum to sharing questions via chat, which I welcome at any time. So I'll hand the mic off to my colleague, Elizabeth, to get us started on the next slide. Elizabeth?
Everyone, I'm Elizabeth Jones from the Microsoft 365 marketing team, and thank you for joining today. So we'll be starting off with a quick overview of what it means when a Microsoft product reaches end of support, and then taking a quick tour through which products are coming up to that milestone next year. Spoiler alert, they're the ones on this slide. And then we will run through what your options are and how to plan your path forward. And so we'll take a deeper dive first for Windows and then for Office. We've also got a lot of great resources to share, which we'll do in the chat alongside. Also, one quick note, when we talk about Windows in this session, we'll be referring to Windows 10 Enterprise and Education, so the main client version. We're not going to be covering Windows 10 Enterprise LTSC or Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC. Back over to you, Thomas.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's see here. Okay, so I wanted to take a minute to kind of double click into what happens once we reach end of support, so we can kind of baseline on definitions. So end of support at Microsoft refers to the point in time when a product or service will no longer receive updates, and that includes security updates, that will include non-security updates, or assisted support. Once a product reaches EOS, customers are encouraged to migrate to the latest version of the product or service. For example, as many of you know, and we've kind of shared a little bit, the EOS for Windows 10 version 22H2 is scheduled for October 14th, 2025. After this date, Windows 10 version 22H2 will no longer receive updates, and customers are encouraged to transition to Windows 11. EOS, also known by many as end of life, means that technicals for impacted software will cease, albeit by phone, chat, or email for any technical issues. PCs will no longer receive feature improvements or bug fixes for impacted software. This, of course, could impact user productivity and collaboration needs. Lastly, we will no longer receive customers will no longer receive security updates for fixes for impacted Office apps and servers, nor for Windows devices or servers. As you can see, this is a critical milestone in the product lifecycle, and it signifies the end of that product's lifecycle, hence us communicating about these in abundance. And you'll see a greater abundance of comms between now and that date, which we're going to go through in a little bit more detail. Now, there are fallbacks and last resort options worth exploring, so we'll be doing that this morning here in this presentation. So I'll turn it back to Elizabeth to walk you through this slide.
Thanks, Thomas. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of major products reaching the end of support in 2025. We're going to dive into the details of the first two that you see over on the left, Windows and Office, in just a moment. But I wanted to give a quick overview of what the options are across the board. So for Windows, Office, and Exchange, the most efficient commercial upgrade is going to be to go to Microsoft 365 E3, which includes Windows 11 Enterprise E3, Microsoft 365 apps for Enterprise, and Exchange Online. And so one fell swoop, you get Windows, Office, and Exchange Server all covered. For scenarios where that's not appropriate, there's also the option of upgrading to Windows 11 or purchasing new devices separately. and then going to Office 365 E3 or Microsoft 365 Business Standard to get Office and Exchange Server together. The next best option for Windows would be to use Windows 365 to make Windows 11 available on any device with a cloud PC. Or finally, as a last resort, customers can purchase extended security updates to keep Windows 10 secure until you can upgrade for a limited time. For Office, over in the next column, customers who want the latest desktop apps could buy one of the larger bundles that I just mentioned, or you can come down to Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise or Microsoft 365 apps for business, which are going to be the most current versions of the desktop apps, and that they also come with web and mobile apps. If you do have disconnected scenarios that require a different solution, we are going to be launching Office LTSC 2024 next week, and so that will become available as well. For Exchange Server, the fallback and last resort are similar. You can go with Exchange Online as a standalone, or you can upgrade to Exchange Server Subscription Edition when it becomes available next year. And you can start that process by moving on to Exchange Server 2019 right now. For Visio and Project, the options are a little bit different. To get the full-featured desktop and web apps for these, the best paths are going to be Visio Plan 2 and Planner and Project Plan 3. As a fallback, you can get basic web-based functionality for both Visio and Project just by subscribing to any Microsoft 365 commercial plan. And that's just included. And finally, if you do need that on-prem desktop solution disconnected, doesn't receive feature updates, then Visio and Project 2024 both also launch next week. Finally, there's Skype for Business Server. And for that, the highly recommended path is to move to Microsoft Teams. Small business customers can still get Teams as part of any Microsoft 365 Business Suite. Enterprise customers can buy Microsoft Teams Enterprise or Teams EEA if you're in the European Union. As a fallback for customers who can't go to the cloud, we will also have Skype for Business Server Subscription Edition launching in the second half of next year. Okay, enough for me. Over to Eric for more details on the available options for Windows.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. My name is Eric Moe. I'm part of our Windows Commercial Customer Acceleration team. If we can move to the next slide, I want to take a deeper look into what it means to get off of Windows 10 and onto a supported platform. As Elizabeth mentioned on the previous slide, we have basically 4 different paths that you can take to bring your devices up to an eligible Windows 11 version that will get all the security updates and feature enhancements, et cetera, that your organizations are looking for. The very first thing is upgrade your eligible existing Windows 10 PCs to Windows 11. I mean, that sounds pretty basic, but that's where you want to start, right? Because you're probably going to have some devices that are completely eligible today from a hardware perspective. You have management tools in place to perform the upgrade. Let's get them started. Let's get them upgraded. But what about the ones that don't meet minimum hardware requirements? Well, we have a few other options. You can replace them. That's option number 1. We have a lot of new devices that have been released this year. Our new Copilot Plus PCs, for instance, that have AI enhancements and capabilities, security that's built in from the chipset up. These new devices are great for your organization. They're built for hybrid work. Introducing them now into your environment to replace these legacy devices that just can't be upgraded is an excellent option to give your users more productivity and more security than they have today. But let's say budget is a concern and you aren't able to replace all of these devices prior to October 2025. We offer another option. It's our Cloud PC up in Windows 365. You can start to migrate into the cloud now and make Windows 11 available to users on any device using our new Microsoft app where they can just connect to a desktop, running Windows 11 in the cloud, accessing their apps and data in a secure fashion, and you've gotten them off of a platform that is no longer supported. As a very last resort, or as I would call it, a Plan Z, you can enroll in the Windows 10 Extended Security Update Program. What this will do is for Windows 10 22H2 devices, we will continue to provide monthly security updates to keep those devices secure. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the ESU program on the next slide. So what exactly are ESUs? Again, they're the last resort here, and they're intended to be a bridge between your current environment running Windows 10 22H2 until you can get those devices either ready to run Windows 11 through a hardware replacement or unblock anything else that's preventing you from getting to Windows 11. These are not intended to be a long-term strategy for an organization. These are really intended to help you stay secure while you get ready to get onto a supported version of Windows. Now, the security updates we provide are those that are deemed critical or important based on our MSRC standards. So it's not every single update that you may get otherwise. These are the important and critical updates. Finally, what aren't these? So we've mentioned that we will not put non-security updates into these extended security updates. So what does that mean? No new features, no new innovations, no new capabilities that your end users would get otherwise if they were on Windows 11. You can't request a design change request or a change to functionality within Windows. All you get are these security updates. So again, treat these as a last resort. We don't want you to get onto an ESU program if you can help it. We really want you to be on the latest and greatest for your organization and for your end users. Now let's move forward to the next slide, which is what should you consider when you're going to upgrade to from Windows 10 to Windows 11? What resources are available? Well, the great news is that Microsoft offers a great number of documentation articles online specifically geared towards IT admins in their organizations to plan, prepare, and deploy Windows 11 in your environment. And the critical lesson we've learned from customers who've already been able to make this journey is use the tools that you have available to you today to in-place upgrade from 10 to 11. That includes tools like Configuration Manager, Intune, Windows Auto Patch. Use the tools that you have today that you're performing your Windows 10 feature updates to apply the Windows 11 feature update. And if you have concerns about app compat, that story has gotten so much better over the last several years. Between Windows 10 and Windows 11, our app compat is exceeding 99%. So you really don't have much to worry about when it comes to application compatibility and worrying about your users having a deficient experience when they get to Windows 11. If you qualify for Fast Track, we have Fast Track resources who can help you along in this journey, provide recommendations, look at things in your environment and suggest ways in which you can overcome particular challenges, help you understand how to accelerate your journey to Windows 11. And I can't emphasize this enough. If you haven't started already, start now. We've got a year. A year can go very, very quickly. You want to start now so that you ensure that you are complete before October 14th, 2025. Now let's go to one last slide that I have before we move back to the rest of the team to talk about Office. And that is some considerations that you should make when you're looking at upgrading from Windows 10 to Windows 11 on your PCs. Treat Windows 11 the same as you would a Windows 10 feature update. If you already have methodology in place to keep current on Windows 10, the same tooling, the same processes, the same process and methodology can be used to get you to Windows 11. Our recommendation is use a ring-based deployment. Start small and expand out to further rings to ensure that if there are issues that you encounter, you've contained that blast radius, so to speak. You've gotten a small population and you expand as you build confidence in your tooling and in your processing. We've seen customers get stuck on application testing, even though we have a great app compat story. Don't over pivot on that. Don't spend an inordinate amount of time trying to test every single application in your environment. Number one, we know most of them, if not all of them, are going to work when you move to Windows 11. You're going to spend time and energy and resources where it just isn't going to be valuable in the long run. Test your most critical things and deploy, because that is where you're going to find if you really have an issue somewhere. I don't want to not mention this as well, which is we have been making an emphasis this year on getting customers to cloud native, using our native tooling of Intune MDM and Autopilot and Entra ID as a superior experience for your end users and from a management perspective. Don't make that a prereq though. Make that an and. You can do that in parallel. That's activity that can be done, but if you put it in front of your Windows 11 upgrade, it can slow you down. And at this point, we want you to go as fast as you can. And if you have the right licensing, a really fast method to get you to Windows 11 is to sign up for Windows Auto Patch and use Auto Patch as a methodology for doing your upgrade. And then finally, We do offer different resources for your end users to be able to get acclimated to Windows 11 and get productive quicker, faster, and have more confidence when they receive Windows 11. So leverage our day one content that Thomas and others have put together to really help your users get the most out of Windows 11 when you reach there. And with that, I'm going to turn it back, I believe, to Elizabeth and Matt to cover some of the things around Office and Office updates. Thank you.
So in some ways, the upgrade from Office 2016 and 2019 is actually a lot simpler than the upgrade from Windows, just because it doesn't necessarily involve devices. But there's still a whole lot of options. And I know that this is something that often confuses our customers. So I just wanted to walk through some of the different options you have available for getting the most up-to-date versions of Office onto all of your machines. And I'm going to start over on the right-hand side with Office LTSC, which is really designed specifically for scenarios that are either completely disconnected from the internet or can't take updates for long periods of time. So Office LTSC is only installable on a single PC. It is a device-based license, and it has fewer features than the cloud versions, and it doesn't receive new ones until the next release, which is usually about every 3 years. It does receive regular security and stability updates. And so, but those can be deployed offline if necessary. Moving over to the left, you get into the cloud suites. And so the one that's going to look the most like the Office 2016 and 2019 experience is going to be Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise. And so that is a suite of always up-to-date versions of all your familiar apps. So we've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, Access for the PC only, and then some more that you might not have been familiar with before, things like Microsoft Forms. It also comes with 1 terabyte of OneDrive cloud storage per user, but it doesn't come with any of the server products. So if you're looking for more of sort of a full-featured solution to run the whole system, you probably want to go to at least something like Office 365 E3 or Microsoft 365 Business Standard would be the option for lower than 300 seats. And that gives you all of the apps that are in Microsoft 365 apps for enterprise and all of the server goodness that you get from SharePoint and Exchange. And it also gives you some Power Apps, the planner features, some Viva features, bookings. There's just a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into Office 365 E3 as well. Going one step further, if you go to Microsoft 365 E3, you also get things like Windows E3, Windows Enterprise E3. And so that's a whole solution that you can deploy together for to get everything all in one. It also comes with core identity, endpoint management, and threat protection features so that you can feel a little more confident going to this new world of AI. And that's an important thing to note too. If you are interested in going toward Microsoft 365 Copilot, you do need one of the cloud suites. Office LTSC is not eligible for Copilot, and if you get Copilot, the Copilot features will not light up in Office LTSC. So you want to make sure that if you're going in that direction, you have the right suite to form the basis of it. The other thing to note about all of the cloud suites is that they are not just one device, they're per user, and every user can install them on 5 PCs, 5 tablets, and 5 phones. They also all come with desktop, web, and mobile apps rather than just the desktop apps. And they all come with storage, cloud storage. So I am going to turn it over to Matt to talk a little bit more about the technical details.
Awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth. My name is Matt Filipenko. I work in the office engineering side of things and do tons and tons of upgrades with customers migrating from 2016 to Microsoft 365 apps, 2019, 2021, all of our different versions. I'll assist during that upgrade process and kind of walk through. From a high level perspective, the overall guidance for 2016 and 2019, there's really good documents out there that we've already put together that will navigate and walk you through using the Office deployment tool, building out an XML that will easily transition that build from 2016 or 2019 over to our Microsoft 365 apps. In addition, we also have a blog that we put together a while back on all of the processes, the best practices for 16 to Microsoft 365 apps, and then 19 to Microsoft 365 apps. So it'll walk you through all of the different scenarios and dial into any of the specifics that you're looking for. Next up would be the 2019 migration. With this one, it's the easiest migration in my opinion, because your Office 2019 product is already on our click to run stack. So the macros, add-ins, all of that stuff is going to slide over to the new client. So it's super easy to do that. And we have a couple options. The first option there is to use the deployment tool and just install it right over the top. It works really well, easy. It's even easier if you point it directly to CDN and do this changeover so you don't have to manage all the data locally. The next option would be a group policy. This option does get detailed steps up in that blog above, but the main scenario there is I would recommend the Office deployment tool because it has the fastest turnaround time for your migration. If you're looking to expedite it, use the deployment tool. If you want to set it and forget it and just let it convert over time, use the GPO. Lastly, here are the 2016 migration. This one it's not the most challenging, but it's going to have the most runway to it because you'll need to migrate from our MSI technology over to our click to run technology for Office. And the links that I put in here, we'll share those out later on. But the main focus here is that you can use an Office deployment tool, which is used to deploy the Microsoft 365 apps. And in addition, over the past few years, we've created a ton of new features that make that migration super easy and super smooth. The first link there, the dynamic link and lean packages, that process will utilize the CDN on the back end, so you don't have to deal with all of the content and the distribution and managing it from that route. The right sizing your deployment. I've worked with customers that deploy multiple languages, 20 plus languages, and with this approach, we've documented it all online on how you can use software metering and config manager and go through and isolate, figure out which languages are most dominant in your environment, and then deploy what is being used. And then for the first link, the dynamic option, that's where you can sideload other languages and even other products like Project Visio, anything that you need to sideload. The last link there on the Office 2016 section is regarding Project and Visio. I know that these are most commonly deployed at separate times. The challenge with Microsoft 365 Click to Run is that when you're applying Project or Visio and you've already applied Office, the apps have to be closed when you make that transition. So it's easier from an admin perspective to deploy everything in one sweep. And with our addition of a feature called MSI Condition, what you can do is you can point one package that has all of your Office, Project, Visio, Standard, Pro, all the different versions. Those are all laid out in the XML. And then you point that at the device. And what we'll do is from a click to run technology perspective, we'll look at the device, figure out what version of Project is on it, and then we'll grab that version from the install. It allows you to do one pass and take care of all of your installs at one time. So it's a super expedited way to deploy, easy to deploy, and saves you downtime from your end users having to apply another update to add Project or Visio. Lastly, before I drop off here, the next step would be a application readiness. We do have a feature inside Config Manager, Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, and it is a readiness dashboard which will help you with your add-ins and macros. If you're going from 2016 over to Microsoft 365 apps, most are going to work out of the gate. But if you do see any anomalies or anything that's different there, using that readiness dashboard will give you that peace of mind and moving towards it. One thing that Elizabeth mentioned on the last section here was around Copilot. And when you're navigating to Microsoft 365 apps from 2016 or 2019, one thing to keep in mind is that Copilot is only supported on our current channel and our monthly enterprise channel. We do recommend the monthly enterprise channel because it's patched once a month. It's really easy to manage. We even have an apps admin center portal that we developed to make the management of your Microsoft 365 apps on monthly enterprise channel easy and to lower that cost of ownership. With that, I'll jump in the chat, take questions if you have any, and thanks for your time.
So just to sort of echo what Matt was saying, and I'll start putting some links in the chat in a second. But we have a whole wealth of resources on our site to help you work through how to move from Office 2016 2019 to Microsoft 365 apps. There's also always support through your account team. Definitely you should go talk to them, and they can hook you up with additional resources if you do have an account team. Otherwise, we do have a lot of partners who are also available to help work with you on cloud migrations. There's also fast track assistance and some assessment tools that we have available. And so I definitely would echo Matt's call to make sure that you're utilizing those tools and resources. And with that, I think we can open it up for questions. I will start throwing some links into the Q&A section. But that's, I think, all we have.
I think one thing to call out as a team that we've all been working on is just a greater breadth of content that you're going to see certainly at the T-1 year for end of support. So I think you're going to start to see more comments and blogs in tech community across the various spaces. You'll see some announcements coming from our leadership. I know we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. For those of you that might be attending Ignite, there'll certainly be some efforts there to discuss this a little bit further, but there'll be greater emphasis on making sure that everybody can plan, prepare, and deploy ahead of that October 14th, 2025 date for all these products that we've spoken about today. So with that, I think what we want to do is thank everybody who spoke today, and of course invite anyone that would like to take advantage of some SME or subject matter expert time with those of us here on the back end chat. We're happy to help you with any questions that you might have. But right now, the Q&A looks pretty quiet.